Golden Knights having great success so far this year. Does that put any pressure on you guys to succeed?
Who are the Golden Knights? No, only pressure is that the sniping that people say you got to do as good as them.
It's just good. Vegas is treating us well, and I think the record doesn't show how hard that we work, and it's tough in that way, but it's good for us in the inner circle to understand what we have going on in Vegas, and if we just continue to trust and believe in each other, the sky's the limit for this team, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
Our expectations maybe at the start of the season were a little unrealistic.
Man, we're not even worrying about the playoffs right now. What we do is we take it week by week. We gotta worry about next week. You start looking ahead and you start looking over people, you might not even make it. So
that being said, to me, Urban Meyer is one of the lowest pieces of garbage there is on this earth.
Yo, what's going on? Okay, now you guys can hear me. Look at this. Isn't that the perfect way to start the show? We got viewers already on there. People are probably wondering, what the hell is wrong with this fucking guy? He ain't saying anything. He's not even talking. Once again, Jose V coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You guys are tuned in to another episode here of Straight Bet Sports Live. I'm coming to you live from the crib here in the office, just hanging out. I thought, look, man, it's been a minute since I've done the podcast, right? Before, for all of you that have been following me, then you already know what I've been doing, where I've been doing it. Gorilla Cross Studios, Gorilla Cross Radio. I was there for 2.5 years with Straight Bet Sports. We had a lot of great guests come in and out of the studio, from professional athletes to professional coaches to collegiate coaches and collegiate athletes that were just amazing for giving us the time of day. And I thought about it. I started the way I am now, right? In front of a camera, at home, at the crib, but I didn't have a mic. I didn't have anything. I had headphones, and that was it. I was on Facebook Live trying to just freaking speak and talk and see who would listen and who would give me the time of day, right? I've grown a little bit of a following, had my show on Gorilla Cross for 2.5 years after that, and have been even asked to sit in locally here and fill in for some shows. Ken Thompson, Sports X Radio being one of them on 101.5 FM out there, K-Don. And then, of course, TC Martin, the TC Martin Show. Big ups to him, the voice of the Las Vegas Aces. He has his show. I filled in for him sometimes when he's on the road. But enough about me, man. All I'm going to ask you guys is you could do this for me. Press that like, drop that comment, press that share. We'll go from there. Let everyone know what it is that you are tuned into today. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you go on those platforms and search Straight Bet Sports, you will find us live there. Now, look, another thing, guys, you're probably wondering, what is he going to tell me that I don't know? He's just a normal guy, a normal Joe. But look, I have access. We have access. What I mean by we is my guest that I'm about to bring in, Chris Winn, C. Winn, as we like to call him out here in Vegas. We have access to the Vegas Golden Knights. We have access to the Aviators, the Raiders, UNLV Sports, the Las Vegas Aces, because we're credentialed members of the media. I don't say that to brag. I just say that to let you guys know that when we speak on certain things, we're not just speaking on it because we're two normal guys behind the camera at the crib hanging out, blabbing away on what we feel is right and what's wrong. No, we basically talk about the things that we see and what we cover. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and bring in my guy, Chris Winn. He's also joining me live from Las Vegas, my man C. Winn. Not the first time you've been on the show, definitely not the last. You've even hosted it for me. How's it going out there, my brother? How you been?
Going great, Jose. Good to join you. Of course, here on a hump day as we get rolling into April, but it's still March Madness, right? It's kind of wild how impressive and intriguing both ends of the NCAA tournament, both the women's and the men's side have been. And of course, we are also getting ready to get the nitty gritty when it comes to the National Hockey League playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and of course the NBA playoffs as well too. And that baseball thing started up, right? Just a matter of a few days ago. So good stuff. And hey, little Jose V with a little action with his mediocre NBA team banner behind him here in the old LA Laker banner, baby, in the background.
11 games above 500, baby. Let's go.
To get us started here as we get rolling on Straight Bet Sports. Always a good time, my friend and brother, as we talk some sports.
So, Chris, you and I have been talking sports for about 7 years now. I believe we've known each other. You've been doing it for a lot longer than that. But you and I have always been able to talk sports and go back and forth. Even when we agree or disagree, we always find a way to make it entertaining and fun for not only us, right, for the people that are out there listening and watching, because that's what this is all about. Now, again, I'm a guy that likes to ruffle feathers. You know that. There's been times where you're like, this freaking guy, what are you doing, Jose? Behind the scenes, you're trying to
What are you talking about, man?
Exactly. Why do you got to say that? But you know what it is? But look, we got to talk about a lot of things women's sports right now. The reason I say that, WNBA season right around the corner. We got our two-time defending Las Vegas Aces here ramping up, getting ready to possibly make another run for a three-peat here, which we haven't seen since, I believe, the Houston Comets back in the day when the WNBA first started. But talk a little bit about women's college sports here, and specifically the basketball landscape, which you already brought up with March Madness. Now, one player in particular, Angel Reese, right? She's been the big topic of conversation. The spotlight has been on her, as she states, since last year, since they won the national championship. According to her, she hasn't been able to rest, right? She hasn't been able to do certain things because she's felt womenized or criminalized or sexualized or whatever it may be at that point. So now it comes out that she's declared for the WNBA, right? Now, before I give you my thoughts, I want to know how you feel about her as a whole, as a player, the things that she said in that press conference following the loss to Iowa, and what do you think her impact will be in the WNBA?
Well, here's the thing, right, Jose, and let's dive into this, because my initial reaction is it's fascinating, really, how the landscape is right now with respect to women's basketball, period, right? Because I'm basically going to kind of try to combine here women's college basketball with the WNBA, because that's really what the intersection is about here and what's going to transpire, right? In the next, 5, 6, 7 months, it's going to be about this crop of players led by Caitlin Clark, obviously, the National Player of the Year, one of the most talked about women's athletes, period, in the last 20 years plus, right? Where we are in an era now with the NIL, right? Where players have options, right? Student athletes, as they're called in college, have options when it comes to their financial situation and staying in college or going to the pros, right? So what's really fascinating, and that's a word I'm going to use multiple times because that's what it is. When you have 12 million people that tuned in on a nationally televised network to watch this Iowa, LSU game this past weekend, and you have the interest that's been drummed up. Let me tell you something, Jose. All right. I was watching a national program yesterday, pardon the interruption, over on ESPN, right? Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon and others. This is what's different about 2024 and the last couple of years, really, when it comes to women's sports and before that. For the first 5 minutes of this national show that covers all sports, Major League Baseball, the NBA, right, NHL, and beyond. For the first 6 minutes of this show, it was about the women's Final Four. It was about that Iowa LSU game, right? That would have never happened. It's just a matter of maybe, a handful of years ago, 10 years ago, to be absurd, right? That is where we're at right now in 2024 when it comes to women's sports. So circling back to the situation regarding, these teams like LSU that has players like Angel Reese, obviously a coach, and Kim Mulkey, who's, can be polarizing at times because she'll inject some other, things going on in America into college basketball, right? And of course, Angel Reese, someone who is, absolutely is somebody that is much talked about. And people want to give their opinions on her left and right. Of course, with behind the backdrop of Caitlin Clark at Iowa, and everybody kind of speculating as to what is her future, right? What is she going to be as an athlete, right? With these other, options coming in. Obviously, the WNBA is probably the most logical for her and would probably be the smartest thing for her. But she does have the big three, opportunity out there that, that's something. But these are things that we never had to deal with when it came to women's sports in America.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you kind of understand where I'm going here. So 100%. Like it's wild and it's intriguing as all get out to kind of think about this. Now, to kind of bounce this to you and get your take, when it came to that LSU Iowa matchup, and look, and now they're not even the LSU's not even in the Final Four. They won the championship last year. They're not in the Final Four, and so it sets up all kinds of cool storylines for the four teams that are left. And you've got some great teams that are left. Obviously, three of them definitely that were picked to be the top teams. And South Carolina, who's still the odds-on favorite in my opinion. But the point being is that that matchup in the Elite Eight is any indication, it's going to be hugely interesting to see what happens here in this Final Four. But now that Angel Reese is done playing, everybody's going to start speculating about what her WNBA future is, and it's not really. I don't think if you know basketball, whether it's women's or men's, I don't think we should be thinking about Angel Reese in the same, even in the same category as Caitlin Clark when it comes to their prospects in the WNBA. Angel's not on that level of Caitlin, quite frankly. But because she is so someone who is so polarizing at times, and someone who has been kind of the spearhead of this mantra, right, at LSU, where it's us against the world, we're the villains, we're going to wear crowns on the court and stuff like that, because we are the defending champs, but we still feel like we have this monstrous chip on our shoulder, even though we're out of the tournament. It's really interesting, right, Jose, to kind of see how this is all, and it does give off, and I'll go to your Lakers, right, and the Boston Celtics. It gives off a bit of a Magic Johnson, Larry Bird vibe, right, with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Obviously, there's the race, situation there, and also from an impact standpoint, where you have America talking about women's basketball, Jose. Okay, it's and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here because we cover the Aces. We love Jiggy. We love all things Las Vegas Aces, right? Here in Vegas, we have the best team. We have the gold standard in the WNBA.
We are the gold standard. Yeah,
we are the gold standard here in Las Vegas when it comes to women's basketball. But if we're being honest, completely honest and frank, women's basketball, whether it's the WNBA or women's college basketball, was never really high on the sports totem pole in America. And it has become, it feels like, I guess I'll use this phrase, it feels like it's climbing the totem pole a little bit with the situation and with the stuff that has gone on the past few days when it comes to the women's college basketball championship.
So a lot to take in there, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of different ways we can go there, a lot of different avenues I can start with, but I'll start with the whole Angel Reese thing with her declaring to the WNBA. I
Right.
think obviously it's something that we already expected. It's nothing new. We knew that she already did what she had to do, right, when it comes to winning her chip last year. She was a national, player again, whatever it may be, top 10 ranked. She's ranked below Caitlin Clark. We get that. Caitlin Clark, obviously, we saw what she did. She had record-breaking season, right? Third year in a row. They win the Big Ten title or whatever it is. So, obviously, Caitlin Clark is going to get her flowers because she belongs to be where she's at. No surprise for me for Angel Reese to be dipping to the WNBA. I think it's a good move for her. I truly believe so. I think she's in a whole nother state when it comes to the mentality that she has. I don't think she's no longer a college player, if that makes sense. She's an athlete first now, and that's what she's going to continue to be moving forward. And I don't mean that by persona or who she is as a human. She's still a human being. She's still a female. She's an athlete. She's a black a female here in the United States. I get that. Not taking that away from her. But what I mean by when it comes to her career, mentally, I don't believe that she thinks that she's a college athlete anymore. I think she believes that she's better than that and can take her talents to a higher level, and that's why she's going to the WNBA, right? Now, aside from her declaring and going to the WNBA, I want to talk about her press conference and how she took things and how she said. Sam Acho on Wake Up or whatever it is, I forgot which, I think it's on Fox Sports or NFL Network.
Yeah.
He came out and stated something to the point where you can't cry wolf and then basically be, in the back, I mean, you can't be the villain, and then cry wolf and ask for help or ask for sympathy at the end of the day. Don't quote me on those words, but paraphrasing what he said. And I wanted to take a step back and think about it because, again, we cover the Aces. I don't want anything to be said where people think I'm disrespecting women's sports because I'm not. I love women's sports, and it's not just because I cover them. The fact that I cover them has opened my eyes to a lot more, and I'm more appreciative of what women do bring to the world with sports, whether it's in commentary, journalism, or on the court or on any type of field. I am more appreciative of what women bring, right? But if you look at what she did away from the court on a personal level,
Yeah.
she talked a lot of trash. She created a lot of this for herself to create that bullseye on not necessarily just her back, but on her team's back. She kind of brought a lot of this upon herself. Now, when she says, I've been sexualized in the media, that one kind of touched me because you did the swimsuit issue. You went out and did that thing on your own. So you're sexualizing yourself, Angel, at that point, is what I'm trying to get to. Now, going back to her as a player and as a talent, if we look at what she did on the court, the ring, the waving the face, how is that any different from what Kevin Garnett did in the NBA his whole career? Kevin Garnett was a trash talker, one of the best shit talkers in the NBA, and that's how he made his career. But look at him. He's still one of the most beloved players of all time because that was just who he was on the court. He was a competitor. Now, if we're going to bring in race and white and black and all that, it sucks that we still have to bring in race. But, yes, it's there. Now, everyone wants to talk about, well, Caitlin Clark doesn't get all the scrutiny and this and that and the other. There's a lot of hate out there for Caitlin Clark if you guys have not seen it. There's a lot of people that have been talking trash and don't like her because of her attitude away from the basketball court, right? Or the things that she does when she's on the court. Her own father has been shown on camera, Chris, yelling, stop it. Her own father has been caught on camera yelling, get her out of the game, to the coach. So, again, when we say, oh, it's only Angel, it's only black and white and this and that, there's hate going both ways. But what sucks is that because it is part of the race thing, Chris, you're always going to get thrown to more fire on a separate occasion. What I mean by that, Angel Reese being an African-American, she's going to get a lot more of that, or you're going to see a lot more of that. It's going to come out. And I'm not trying to play the race card. It's just the way it is. If you go out on the media and you go out on social media, you can see it for yourself. I'm not saying anything that's not factual. It's out there, and it's the world that we live in, and it sucks, right? But at the end of the day, I like her style of play. I think she's going to bring a lot to the WNBA. I think she's a great competitor. I get it. She may be a little bit hood or ghetto, like people like to call it. I grew up in South Central LA. Her attitude and her style to me is fine. You know, she wants to be a role model, cool. Just clean up certain things and understand that you can't say you're being sexualized and you want to be a role model for kids when you're out there doing these type of, you know, modeling shoots and all that. I'm not saying they're wrong. You're a beautiful looking woman. Do what you can. Make your money. Absolutely. But then this is the conversation that comes to mind, Chris, that I wanted to bring up to you. And this was brought to my attention. I didn't say this, but this was brought up to me by a buddy that knows that I'm not a big fan of Liz Cambage. I've had run-ins with her when we covered her out here and this and that, and I've said a lot about her. The conversation and the question was asked to me, with Angel Reese, are we seeing the next possible Liz Cambage? And again, that's not me saying that. I just want to throw that out there. I don't want people to murder me and act like I'm the one stating this. No. But I ask you this question because I started to think about it, and I go, well, some of the attitude might be there. But wait, she's just a competitor, right? I step back. And then I go, well, she did do the swimsuit thing, and Liz did a lot of sexual stuff too, but it is what it is. You know, there's NILs now. Things are different. Liz didn't play in college. So, you know, I start to look at everything, and I step back. Because easy for me, I would have been like, oh, hell yeah. She's the next Liz Cambage for sure because of my dislike for Liz, right, and who she was and how she went about her business. But to me, Angel Reese is a completely different person. Yes, she has attitude, this, that, and the other, but I think she's far, far from ever becoming anything like Liz Cambage.
So a couple things, Jose, okay? First of all, I mean, when it comes to Liz Cambage and comparing Angel Reese to her, I immediately think Liz Cambage is just a better basketball player, right? She had more of an impact in the WNBA than I think Angel Reese is going to have. You know, that's just kind of my initial reaction, and I'm about to tell you why. When it comes to Angel Reese, Jose, there's what? Let's put all our cards on the table here, using a Vegas term, right? There's the persona off the court, right? There's stuff you talked about and what she's going to be able to do as far as marketing herself, you know, as a player, I guess, and a person, but more of a person off the court. And then there's what her prospects are on the court, right? In the WNBA. Mm-hmm. And let's, again, I talk about being honest. Let's do that. When it comes to Angel Reese, right? She, elite rebounder, nose for the ball, love her work ethic. And that alone might help her stick on a roster. As will her defense, but she hasn't developed other parts of her game. And we have to look at what the WNBA is right now. What is it, right? It's a league where there are very few spots. It is a league where a lot of prominent players in college, right? I'm not talking about the Caitlin Clarks, and players like that. I'm talking about players like Angel Reese and players that are, considered kind of not role players, but players that aren't, on the level of Paige Buchers and obviously Caitlin and some of these other players who are even Juju and at USC, right? You're talking about players that are probably going to be top 5 picks in the WNBA. That's not what Angel Reese is going to be. Angel Reese is going to be looked at probably the back of the first round or even later in the draft. I mean, a comparison I immediately look to is Megan Gustafson, right? Who with the Dallas Wings. During the 2019 season, right? The Wings waived her. She's a former Iowa forward that was there, didn't intersect with Caitlin Clark, but played Iowa. Led the NCAA in scoring twice, ranked top 5 and rebounding twice in college, and ends up being, one of those cuts. Jose, we saw it last year, right? With the Aces, players that are getting drafted that because there's just not that many spots, there's 132 roster spots over 12 teams. And now there's going to be 11 or 12 more spots because in 2025 you'll get the Bay Area expansion team.
Yeah.
But if the player's not drafted in the lottery, that team that drafts her becomes more important where she ends up getting drafted. And it's just common, Jose, right? For second and third round picks, even late first round picks to get waived at the roster cutdown day because there just isn't enough room. So there's not even a lot that Angel's going to be, playing in the WNBA, much less being a star. So, that's the thing that comes to my mind when I think about Angel Reese's prospects moving forward in the WNBA. Now, look, when it comes to her off the court persona, she does what she does. You talked about Liz Cambage. Yeah, Liz Cambage was someone who was very active when it came to.
Whoa, looks like we lost Chris. Not sure what happened there, but we're basically talking about Angel Reese, Liz Cambage comparison. Oh, there you go. We're back.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I look at that and I say, okay, she might have prospects off the court, but it is still a big question mark as to what Angel is going to be as a WNBA player, right? And as far as her career, with respect to what you talked about, as far as her being abrasive is a word I'll use, right? And at times can be someone who is polarizing, right? And will say things like she's being sexualized. There's been clear things that have taken place in which she has put herself in those positions, right? Where she is, highlighted that. And that's not a bad thing in my opinion. I mean, it's fine. Go get your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter who you are. There are college players now that have those options to go out there, and if you want attention, you can get attention. If you want money, you can get money. And certainly when you juxtapose it against Caitlin Clark, they're two different people, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark really hasn't been out there as far as any doing some of the same things, I'll say, as Angel Reese. Obviously, she's with the commercials that Caitlin's been doing. Caitlin's been doing national commercials, so
all over the place,
all over the place. She's making a ton of money off the court. I hinted out the the Ice Cube offer with the Big Three, right, which would be an intersection of men's basketball and women's basketball. And let me say this quickly, Jose. Can we please stop? Can we please stop with these comparisons of men's basketball and women's basketball? It's just so infuriating to me and so ridiculous. They are like apples and bowling balls, okay? To take to Phil Leotardo reference from The Sopranos. It's completely ridiculous. All right, they're two different sports. Let's stop trying to inject women's hoops into men's hoops or men's hoops into women's hoops. Who's better? Who can this person play here? And not to get off on a tangent, but I can, and I don't agree with Clay Travis on a lot of things, but I think he was spot on when he made his analysis when it came to that comparison of men's basketball and women's basketball. We don't need to rehash that. But the point being is they are two different things. Stop trying to compare them. And this whole thing with Cube when he apparently sent this offer to Caitlin Clark, I think it would be terrible for basketball overall if she decided to go that route. But that being said, look, we're going to go into a kind of a different era, Jose, right? When it comes to the WNBA, once Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers and Juju, when Juju eventually ends up in the WNBA, it is a different era in women's sports because people are going to. It seems to me people are kind of turning the corner and paying more attention when it comes to all things women's sports, period.
Our guy Mark Newell chimes in on Facebook. He says, controversy equals more money. Without it, no hype for this women's game. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't say no hype. I think that because it's not just controversy, it's just the opportunity for women now to be able to make their money in college. And what does that mean? It means commercials, right? It means you get more exposure to them in different avenues, i.e. television, right? Because of what we're in as far as like our social media climate right now. We're on the web right now, right? With Straight Bet Sports. Because of the exposure here in 2024 and beyond, it's going to give college athletes much more ability to get themselves out there. And we're going to be able to see much more of college athletes when they're in college, right? And they can make money, and there's no restrictions as far as them getting exposure. So I think that's really changed everything. It's not necessarily just controversy is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact that they have more exposure and access to it. And that's why we have them more in our face, I guess. Is that the way to describe where you have college athletes much more visible than they were, obviously 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Once again, you're tuning to Straight Bet Sports live from Las Vegas, Nevada. I am your host, Jose V. My co-host for this afternoon is my guy, Christian Winn, local radio personality. You can find him here on SportsX Radio during the week for Ken Thompson when he's filling in or just jumping in with Ken. You can also find him on the longest running sports show here in Las Vegas in the afternoons, Heat Wave Sports on the weekends on Fox Sports Radio with Tim Monglesby and, of course, our guy Tom Barton. Check out our guy Chris Winn on the radio waves. I jump in from time to time when I'm asked to. I was supposed to fill in for TC yesterday, Monday, but I'm not going to be able to, but I should be jumping in for our guy, Ken Thompson. Chris, if you're free, I know it's national championship night, but if you're free, my man, I'm telling you right now, hop in the studio with me if you got some time. If you're not out of town, we can make that happen. But right now we're talking women's college basketball, just women's sports in general. We've been at it for about half an hour now, but it's good because it's one of those conversations that now has just grown a lot more, Chris, as where before we didn't talk too much about the women. I want to get into the piece here that you have to open up your eyes now and understand this. If you followed the women's game this year, and you're one of the people that says, man, the women's game has grown, right? If you're like me and you agree with me when I say that I believe the women's tournament has been a little more entertaining this year than the men's tournament has, then you need to understand that you're going to have people, young ladies like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, soon to be in a few years, Juju Watkins. These type of players are going to be in the WNBA in the next 2 to 3 years, Chris. You and I are going to have the opportunity to possibly see Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in the next couple months roll through here playing the Aces as rookies. You know what I mean? So what people need to understand is that if you truly followed the women's college game on the basketball side this season, even if it was just for the tournament, which I understand, Chris, there's a lot of teams out there in college. Some people don't follow the full college basketball slate throughout the season. They kind of get into it more when the tournament gets around, and I understand that. But if you're one of those people and you're not a WNBA fan, what's stopping you from being a WNBA fan now? I mean, there is no excuse. Again, I'm not trying to shame anyone like I used to back in the day, Chris. You know how I was. You used to always tell me, trying to shame people to go to games and this and that nature. But what I'm trying to get at is that if you've given these young ladies the respect and the time of day that they've been deserving and they've earned for so many years on this platform and given them this spotlight this year, why not continue to do that and follow their career as pros? Chris mentioned it. It's an NIL, it's an NIL world that we live in now, basically, right? These young ladies and young men are already making money before they even become pros. So they're technically pros already as it is now because the landscape has changed so much. So all I'm saying is that I truly believe this year, Chris, the men's game did not touch the women's game. And just because of the quote-unquote rivalries that we had, even though it really wasn't a rivalry between LSU and Iowa, it was just the rematch, the Caitlin Clark, the Angel Reese, LSU, the whole thing with Kim Mulkey and that article coming out, right? And then you have a Juju Watkins that decided to stay home, right, and go to USC and bring this program back to dominance. And not only that, if you follow Juju, she was just a scorer when the season started, Chris. As the season progressed, she became one of those players that was like, I can trust my team. I can be more confident to know it's not just about me. And for her to do that as a freshman and take them to where she took them this season was just unbelievable to watch. You have the story with Paige Buchers, knowing that she wasn't there last year, wants to come back and said, I'll be there again. Taking out the team that she took out in USC and Juju, going in her ear, telling her, don't worry, you're next. You got this. You're the next one. You have so many storylines right now in college basketball on the women's side, Chris, that I think it's overshadowing the men's game just a bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's, again, I just went on that rant about comparing the men's side and women's side. It's always tough for me, but I see, I can pick up what you're putting down, Jose. I get what you're saying. And I think, that's probably is true just because it really hasn't gone with the exception, obviously, of Purdue, and why am I drawing a blank on the men's Final Four? UConn, UConn and Purdue, obviously 2 number 1 seeds, right, that are in the Final Four. I don't think there hasn't been those interesting storylines on the men's side that there has been on the women's side, right? And obviously, we're focusing again on the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff. Now, we talked about the prospects, right, of Angel Reese. Jose, let's talk about the prospects of Caitlin Clark, right, at the next level, okay? Because I don't think they're going to win the national championship this year. I really don't. I think South Carolina is the best team left, and I think they could be in trouble against UConn, as soon as the next game, obviously, with Iowa. Of course, a little intrigued in that game, obviously, because Caitlin Clark wanted to go to UConn, and then she kind of got, spurred, is the word I'll use. And it was hilarious. I don't know if you saw the press conference with Gino Ariema, where Gino's like, Oh yeah, it was never. There's nothing. I love Caitlin Clark. She's the greatest player ever. Hopefully, she won't drop a 50 spot on us in this game. But that's going to be a fun game to watch. But Caitlin Clark, look, she's going to be the number 1 overall pick, right, Jose? Okay, so she's going to go to the Indiana Fever. Obviously, it's interesting to see that she's going to be a pick and roll partner with Aaliyah Boston, who's the reigning Rookie of the Year, right there with Indiana. Last year, Jewel Lloyd was the scoring champion in the WNBA. She averaged 24.7 a game, which narrowly misses the all-time mark that Taurasi set back in 2006. I don't think Caitlin Clark's going to come to the WNBA right away and just dominate people because there's bigger, stronger defenders, and you're talking about the best women's players in the world in the WNBA. So I just don't think that Caitlin Clark is going to necessarily translate immediately into being some superstar in the WNBA. Does she have obviously prospects, and does she have potential? Absolutely, she does. But there are a lot of great college players, Jose Volante, that play in the WNBA, players that are accomplished, much like Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, and they didn't necessarily come in there and just rip it up. And so I don't expect that to be the situation when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Now, talking about what's gonna happen here coming up this weekend, right? And with both the men's and the women's side, obviously you've got a matchup between a iconic program in UConn, right? Yeah. And you have one of the most talked about, and as we've mentioned this multiple times, Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that was lost in a championship game a year ago, right? And are looking to continue on in this tournament. So you got that, it's not David versus Goliath, but you have, a program in UConn that essentially is like the UCLA of women's basketball, right? So, and then you have South Carolina in the other side of the bracket, who many people think is the cream of the crop when it comes to women's college basketball. And Dawn Staley and company are, poised to capture another championship. Obviously, I mean, we shouldn't be, but we're kind of discounting NC State, which I don't know how fair that is. And then, but then everyone's kind of looking to, okay, what's it going to be like with this South Carolina UConn or South Carolina Iowa matchup in the final? And then on the men's side, you have programs you've got the Wolfpack, NC State, a team that hasn't really been relevant since Jim Valvano was a head coach there, and got a lot of sentiment there because of Jim's passing and the impact he's had when it comes to cancer in the community and all that. And then you have obviously Purdue, who hasn't been to the Final Four since 1980. You have UConn, led by Coach Hurley, and this team that obviously won a national championship a year ago and are one of the favorites to win it again. And so those are three of the teams that you have on the men's side that create a ton of intrigue as well too. So I think there's going to be a lot that we're going to be able to focus on when it comes to both of these Final Fours. And I think if you're a basketball fan, it's going to be great to enjoy, right? You're going to be able to sit back and kind of enjoy and see how things transpire in both the women's game and the men's game.
See Winn chopping it up here with me on Straight Bet Sports. We greatly appreciate you guys for chiming in and tuning in, man. We got our guy Mark hitting me up on the side as well. Got some people chiming in on other areas. Mm-hmm. We greatly appreciate you guys. Got a good little crowd tuned in today as well for the show. I appreciate you, man. I just posted this last night and then reposted it this morning, and everybody jumped on with it, so I greatly appreciate you guys for that. But look, we're going to move away from the women's game, Chris, real quick. Yeah. Great conversations there, man. I greatly appreciate you for all that and all your hard-fought conversations with me, because sometimes we don't agree, but yes, we agreed on a few things here. But I want to briefly talk about the men's side for the UNLV Running Rebels here in Las Vegas. Obviously, we were a part of what I would say one of the best seasons we've had in a very, very long time for the UNLV Running Rebels, Chris. For them to make it to the NIT, first postseason win, I believe, in 16 years it was or something like that. They were stating some crazy number. Yeah. And for them to make it, and win 2 games, not just go in there and lay an egg in the first game and call it quits. No, going in there and showing that they're a team that could actually disrupt and make some noise. Obviously, getting bounced by Seton Hall, rough loss there on the road, which I didn't like where they had to play in that gym. Was kind of horrible in my opinion, the atmosphere there. But aside from that, you have a lot of guys that are leaving that were big contributors this year, right, Chris? You have, I believe, Reese Rodriguez is a 5th-year senior. Is going to be out. You have the Boom brothers that are on their way out. Justin Webster, which was also a good part and great part of this team, fifth-year senior, I believe, also on the way out. And you have Kevin. Talked about it on TC show yesterday. He made a great point. He goes, all kids now are free agents every single year due to the transfer portal, right? Because literally any kid you have to re-recruit at the end of every season. And I never thought of it that way. And if you think about it, coaches' jobs have to be a lot more harder, Chris, because what if you do have that 5-star talent that you recruited, that you got on your team? You guys had a great season, didn't win the chip, but he was a great player statistically, this, that, and the other. But yet here comes that NIL deal from Kentucky or whatever it is. What's to make him not leave? You know what I mean? So coaches' jobs are getting a lot more harder. I do give Kevin a lot of credit, Chris, because when he first started, he was the guy, and he even said it, he was getting 8, 9, 10 guys from the transfer portal to create a team. As where now he has pieces, you know, DJ Thomas, things of that nature, these guys that are still young, that still have a lot of eligibility left, that are willing to stay and create something with this program, but yet you got to re-recruit some of these guys. Even though they're already on your roster and you got them there and they got eligibility left, you got to re-recruit these guys. So with what UNLV did this year, right, with the success that this program had, do you think it was good for the program? Was it too soon, or was it just about time because Kevin was probably on the hot seat?
So here we go, right? There's plenty of ammunition, Jose Volante, for people both that want to bash UNLV men's basketball and people that want to have a glass half full positive perspective on all things UNLV. Okay, let's go to the negative. They'll do it for out of the gate here, because that way I don't look like a party pooper here. All right. Negative is what? After a decent season, which you had, but you had some bad losses during the season, losses that are just unacceptable, quite frankly. If we're being honest, completely honest, Jose, some terrible losses that probably cost them a real NCAA tournament chance, right?
Yeah.
And then it's capped off by what? It's capped off by more of the same when it comes to the Mountain West tournament. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a loss in the first round, first game that you play in the Mountain West tournament, right? So obviously everyone thinks to themselves, well, hey, you played a quality basketball program in San Diego State, in your first game in the Mountain West Conference tournament. And so that, so it's an acceptable loss, right, in the tournament. So therefore we're going to just kind of bypass that. Nothing to see here, right? Because you lost that game. And so, even though we have expectations kind of elevated because of the season that you had, right? A team that's over 500 ends up in the top 4, right? Or top 5 in the in Mountain West regular season. Mm-hmm. Yet you're not able to get a win in the Mountain West tournament. So that's number one. Then in the postseason, obviously, you're not in the NCAA tournament, you're in the NIT. And you get 2 wins in the NIT, which is good, right? Against teams that you're supposed to beat. And then you lose to a team that's probably going to win the entire thing. Seton Hall looks really good.
Yeah,
I had them last night, Jose, in that matchup.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
And so you got the Sycamores of Indiana State, Larry Bird's alma mater, taking on Seton Hall in the final.
Which, real quick, is a team that a lot of people said got snubbed and should have been.
No doubt.
The big dance. But
that's what what's interesting about that, right, Jose? Both Seton Hall and Indiana State were 2 of the teams talked about that were of the 4 that got snubbed, and 2 of the teams that were thought to be among the final 4 that got into the tournament were Mountain West teams, right? Colorado State and Boise State both were teams. So that's interesting. So, but that being said, I mean, Seton Hall, really good basketball really good team, obviously led by Sheen Holloway, the former coach of that school that was an upstart in the tournament, a few years ago. Now is the head coach there. St. Peter's, right? Yeah, he was the head coach at St. Peter's. And so they're a really good team. So they're probably going to win the NIT. So I guess, is there a silver lining in that if you're UNLV fans? Now let's get to the personnel you talked about, right? Let's get to what it is that they look. Kevin Kruger has a tough job ahead of him because it is the transfer portal era, right? Which we didn't have 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 12 years ago or 15, 20 years ago, right? Where kids can just go into the portal and just change programs instantaneously and be eligible next year. So
never used to happen.
It never used to happen. So it's another thing that head college basketball coaches have to deal with. And UNLV is going to be dealing with that too. Obviously, you know, when you have some key pieces leaving UNLV, they're going to have to reload in some way, shape, or form. DJ is going to be back for another year, right? So D-Don's going to be back, point guard, tons of promise, probably has an NBA future. He really is. He's that type of player, which is always interesting because UNLV, despite the fact that they've been a program that has either been subpar or not, you know, not exactly cream of the crop, right, when it comes to the Mountain West, yet they seem to, it seems like every 3-4, a few years, they have a guy that ends up going to the NBA. You know what I mean? That just doesn't happen in other programs that are around the level of UNLV. That's kind of a unique thing here with running Rebel basketball. So you have him back. You're going to obviously going to get freshmen coming in. I mean, college freshmen coming in. That's, high school seniors now that they're going to be taking a look at, and then the transfer portal. Kevin, it's never been about really trying to live up to his father. And you pointed out the last time UNLV had a win in the postseason was that Sweet 16 run, obviously coached by Kevin's dad. I mean, that's how far back we go with UNLV basketball actually being relevant, right?
Lon Kruger.
Yeah, it's a long time. So Lon Kruger's team back that went to the Sweet 16. So there's no question that there is a lot of work to do when it comes to Kevin Kruger and his staff and this team. And I know that I didn't really highlight the positives too much when it came to, and I said negatives and positives. This is going to sound kind of negative. It's going to be tough for Kevin to repeat what they were able to do this year when it came to the positive things, right, Jose? That happened with his team next year. Because, yes, they're going to have DJ back in the mix at point guard, but there's not the definite guys like the Boone brothers, right? Or like, or like Luis or, or Justin or Webb or, even Jackie Johnson. There's not, we don't know what we're going to get as far as leadership. You're not going to know what you're going to get as far as production with a lot of the, key pieces of this team that are going to be on the court in 2024-25. So in a nutshell, to kind of wrap up my view on it, we're going to have to kind of sit back and wait and see. This isn't a cop-out answer. This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to sit back and wait and see what exactly Kevin Kruger and his coaching staff does with the transfer portal and who they end up bringing in when it comes to high school seniors, right? Or, or prospects to this program. And I'll end it with this. How interesting would it be, Jose Volante? What was it last night? Bronny James from USC enters the transfer portal. Think about this, Mr. Volante. If that, I could absolutely see the Running Rebels being a target for someone like Bronny James. He hasn't been a good college player. He really hasn't. I don't know if he's even right now, he's not even an NBA prospect, in my opinion. I think it's ridiculous. The only reason he would be is because he's LeBron James' son.
That's it,
yeah, but that's the only reason. But I could absolutely see him going from USC, a Pac-12 program, to some place like UNLV where he has, and I'm sure he has belief in himself, where he could be, a bigger fish in a medium-sized pond as opposed to, a smaller fish in a huge pond that is the Pac-12, And now, of course, the Big Ten, because USC is going to be in the Big Ten. It's interesting, right, Jose? If Bronny James would end up in a scarlet and gray uniform at UNLV because he's entered the transfer portal.
So, look, last night, as I do most of the nights because I'm always up late, I was listening to ESPN late night on the radio. And that's one of the things that they mentioned, how he's in the transfer portal now, how LeBron's been, talking about wanting to be an NBA owner and bring a franchise to Vegas, how LeBron loves Vegas. And not only that, how Vegas isn't that far away from his family, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
The drive is there. It's an hour flight, if that, 45 minutes. You can hop on a bus if you're the family. I mean, it's a lot more convenient for him to come to UNLV is all I'm saying. And again, UNLV, if we're being real, it's a storied program. Remember what they did. Let's be honest, okay? With the Tark years and all that, just because they haven't been that great recently doesn't mean they're still not a storied basketball program. They are. So for him to be able to come here and try to create some type of legacy, even if it is for 1 year, Chris, I'm all for it. But think about what the media madness would be out here. Think about when poor Andy Grossman, the media director for UNLV.
Yeah.
Imagine the amount of emails and access requests he is going to get. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be insane and through the roof. But I'm waiting to see what Kevin's going to do in this offseason here that they're going to have. See if he's going to start hitting the recruiting trail hard. See what he's going to try to get. And not only that, how many of these guys on this roster is he going to keep currently? Big shout out to our guy, Goose Thomas, chiming in, saying, what up, Jose V? Chris Winn. That's our guy from Let the Ball Bounce Sports Talk Radio over on Gorilla Cross Radio. Make sure you guys check them out. Tune in every Saturday, I believe, is on the afternoons. Now they got them there.
Yeah, I think
Check
they do
them out.
on Tuesdays too. They think
Tuesdays
I think
and
it's either
Saturdays.
Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Yeah,
Yeah, Tuesdays and Saturdays.
great opinionated show.
Oh,
I chime
dude.
in on there once in a while on the text line over
And
there.
they go off topic
So shout out
sometimes,
to Goose, yeah.
which is pretty good because them fucking guys go crazy, man. That off topic stuff is pretty good. But Chris, let's move over to the
Yeah.
baseball diamond, okay?
Mhm.
Obviously, we had opening day here this past weekend for the Aviators. As you see, I have the hat on. AAA baseball is back. For those of you that are asking, what the hell are the Aviators? They're the AAA affiliate of the Oakland A's, soon to be Las Vegas A's here for Major League Baseball. Now, the season also kicked off, obviously, in the big leagues, Chris. And one player that is out there right now that is already getting MVP praise, and it's only 5-6 games into the season, is Mookie Betts. The guy just seems to hit a home run in every single game. I believe he only has 2 games this season that he has not hit a home run in. He cracked another one last night against the Giants. I actually bet him today. I was on a space earlier talking about it on Twitter with a couple of my guys. We're giving out best bets. I took Mookie today at plus 265 anytime to hit a home run in that game. I think he cranks another one, Chris. Have you been watching baseball a lot? And obviously, we're not going to talk about your Tigers right now because I don't know how that's going to go today because I know you guys got a game going out there, and we're talking about that game as well, which I want to get your thoughts on. But what have you seen from Mookie Betts, and is this something sustainable? Meaning, can he continue to do this for the rest of the season, even though it's so early?
Oh, no question about it. Look, Mookie Betts is a perennial MVP candidate, even now, right? I mean, I'm going to say even now, the guy's in his prime still. So there's no question about that. By the way, wait, time out. You said we're not going to talk about my Detroit Tigers. Let me just make a little caveat on there. Yeah, there's very few Major League Baseball teams, Jose Volante, that are currently undefeated, and my Tigers happen to be one of them. But yeah, but I'll leave that to the side.
The game was postponed today, by the way.
It was, yeah. So they've had some rain issues up there in New York, and it's probably best for the New York Mets and their fans that these games have been postponed because it'd probably be more. It's just so glorious, Jose, to go on social media and see some of the reaction of Met fan out there. But let's be clear, okay? We all can kind of see this coming down the pike. Yes, it was cool to see the Astros get a no-hitter right out of the gate. There always seems to be a no-hitter early on in the season as of late. There's been, over 300 of them over Major League Baseball's history, so it's not some shocker now that guys, especially guys that aren't, big-time pitchers, getting no-hitters. But that was kind of cool to see. But we all can see it coming down the pike, Jose. Dodgers, Yankees, should be, probably will be the World Series. I don't want to just, throw cold water on every other fan out there when it comes to their team. And there are other teams, right, that could end up in the World Series. But, and maybe I'm being a little bit of tongue-in-cheek here, but it is clear who the top 2 teams are in Major League Baseball right now when you look at the rosters. And obviously the Dodgers are one of those teams. So, but it's a lot of fun for those of us out there. The Pittsburgh Pirate fans, the first time they were undefeated, or first time they were 5-0, I believe, since in 40-something years, maybe more. I think it was 55 years maybe, where Pittsburgh was undefeated. So that was kind of cool to see them do that. Milwaukee was undefeated. I don't think Milwaukee might still be undefeated. And the Tigers are the one team in the American League that are still undefeated. So it's good for those teams to still be relevant. You've got teams like the Philadelphia Phillies who are going to be in the mix. You've got the Braves. You've got just some interesting ball clubs coming into April, where it's pretty much, it's still an opportunity, right? Same as spring training, right? Where spring training is like everybody still has a chance, even though, a lot of teams don't have a chance. That's kind of my viewpoint when it comes to all things Major League Baseball, when it's so early in April, Jose Volante, where, we're trying to, at times we can get way too over analytic when it comes to taking a look at these teams. But, it's going to be a lot of fun in the National League, sticking out to our region. It's going to be a lot of fun in the National League West, especially to kind of see what's going to transpire between the Padres, the Dodgers, and of course the Giants. Giants making some moves in this offseason that kind of made them jump up a little bit in the interest of a lot of us baseball fans and baseball talking heads, because there is the view that the Giants could now make themselves in the mix when it comes to the National League West and the National League period.
Sticking to the National League, how about our guy, hometown guy, Bryce Harper?
Yeah.
Went off yesterday.
Big game yesterday. Yep.
0 for 11, right? Starts the season 0 for 11, and then just says, I'm going to go off. I believe he had 3 home runs yesterday, hit a grand slam as well.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those games that just gets you out of your slump, right? And just gets you going at that point. But, of course, it's Bryce. And not only that, it's pro sports. You're going to have a slump. It sucks that he had it so early in the season, right? Obviously, to start off. But I think this is a great way for him to get out of it. I wouldn't expect him to keep having games like this, obviously back to back to back. But I think you'll see more hits from him, more consistency at the plate, him just being a lot more comfortable. I think that once you get to that point where you're 0 for 6, 0 for 7, it starts becoming a mental thing, right? And you go up to the plate and you're like, Jesus, I haven't got a hit. What am I going to do? So you overthink yourself. And I think him getting out of it last night and getting out of it the way he did with home runs, not base hits, because home runs are going to make you a lot more confident because you're connecting a lot more with the ball. I think he's going to be all right moving forward. Obviously, it's early, Chris, 6 games into the season. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a young season. But sometimes starting off bad early can keep you in a slump. You know what I mean? It's happened to a lot of great players in the past. Not saying it's going to continue to happen here with Bryce. I think he'll be all right because he's got talent around him as well in Philly, right? He's got people to help him get out of it where he doesn't necessarily have to be the guy to control everything. So I think he'll be good. What did you see from Bryce last night?
Yeah, Philadelphia is an interesting team, especially for us Las Vegans, right? Because obviously with Bryce being on that team, but also how cool is it to see, Desert Oasis' own Bryson Stott on the base paths, right? When Bryce Harper hit that grand slam and scoring too. So they got 2 key guys from the Las Vegas Valley that are part of that team, a team that has been right there on the doorstep, right? Has gone to the hasn't been over the hump. So I think that would be a cool story if the Phillies were able to kind of get to his end. Actually,
Chris, we're losing you a bit. Not sure if it's your service. You're completely frozen. This is a great picture. If you guys are watching the show right now,
is it?
Please screenshot this. Chris,
am I good now?
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
You were going in and out. You froze there, and you had a kiss on your face. It just disappeared. Oh, there we go. We got you now. We got you. But no, yeah, I think it would be amazing if this Philly team can find a way this season to do something, Chris, where they can get into a World Series, possibly win it, to have 2 Vegas guys together on the same exact roster, knowing where they're from and what they bring to the game would be just absolutely amazing. Not only for the game, but for the story. You know what I mean? The fact that you have 2 guys from Vegas is pretty dope because normally you don't have 2 guys from the same backyard or from the same family even, winning titles together. So this would be pretty dope in my opinion. Phillies have a roster. They got a great team to be able to do that. But, of course, their division is one of those divisions that's back and forth, right? Anyone can win it at any time whenever you make a streak. So it's going to be interesting and fun to watch. I love what my Yankees are doing. 5-1. Juan Soto looking very good, making that play in the beginning of the season to beat the Astros, to hold them from not winning. And not only that, for the Yankees to go on the road and sweep the Astros, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, start off 5-0 on the road for the first time since 1992, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. It was either 92 or 96, somewhere around there. First time that they've gone 5-0 on the road since that long. So when you think about the Yankees, it's kind of weird to hear that, right? Because it's the Yankees. You would expect that they've done that maybe within the last 10 years or whatever it may be. But no, that's how hard it is to win on the road and what they've been going through to start the season, right? But for them to go on the road, Chris, and beat this Houston Astros team that they've had issues with since 2017 when the whole trash can thing and all that started, right? To beat them, and not only that, do it on the road, on their home turf for the Houston Astros, I think that's a great way for them to start overall with the team that they have because they got a bullseye on their back, and not necessarily from baseball, but from the media, Chris. And the media's always been out for the Yankees because highest payroll, or they spend this much money. You got Giancarlo, you got Aaron Judge, now you got Juan Soto. You're adding all that to the mix. The spotlight is going to always be on them. So I think for them to go on the road and win these games to start off the season is a good way to kind of quiet some of these media people a little bit and let them relax and just play some baseball.
Well, we know what the standard is, right? When it comes to New York Yankees, it's win a championship or else. That's basically the standard, and that's the deal. Now, you talked about what they have from a lineup standpoint. There's no question. From a lineup standpoint, they are top notch in Major League Baseball. But here's the question, right? You got to keep your pitching staff healthy. That is the most important thing when it comes to the Yankees this year. Obviously, Nestor Cortez got to be healthy all year long, right?
Nasty Nestor.
He's outstanding. And then, of course, you get to Garrett Cole, right? Apparently, they just put him on the DL, right? It was in the 60-day injured list, right?
I believe
so
yeah.
That's 2 months that he's not going to be with his team. So you kind of look at it like, okay, they're going to have to kind of weather that storm without him. And then, what is he going to be when he comes back, right? I mean, is he going to be Garrett Cole that we all expect, right? That Cy Young candidate, that guy who can be a top-tier guy, an A1 ace type of pitcher. And so that's going to play big into whether or not the Yankees, as far as they get back to the Fall Classic, without a doubt. And we'll see how it shakes out with some of these contenders in the American League. There's teams in their own division. Obviously, I'm thinking of teams like the Baltimore Orioles, right, who are going to be right there with them when it comes to competition throughout the season. So Orioles are a much talked about team that people think could absolutely end up in the Fall Classic as well, too. So, yeah, we get it. It's all, and when it comes to Major League Baseball, there's teams like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, we're going to talk about no matter what. And I believe it was, it's not just 5-0 on the road. I think that's the first time since 1992 that the Yankees have started 5-0, period. I could be wrong on that, but certainly a way you want to start, right? With missing your best pitcher and still being early on in the season. So definitely a great way to begin the 2024 campaign for the Bronx Bombers to get out of the gate with an outstanding record like this.
Quick little score update for all you gamblers out there. Obviously, you guys already know we do our spaces in the mornings with my guy Plug, Low, everybody else that jumps in right there with the Outlet SV as well. Royals game has been delayed so far against the Orioles, hasn't even started. Angels are up 10-2 on the Marlins on the road, top of the 8th inning. Twins are up 6-3 over the Brewers, bottom of the 7th. Top of the 1st, just getting started. Red Sox in Oakland, 0-0 game there. So we'll see how those finish out. A couple games have been postponed. Goose, your Braves-White Sox game has been postponed. A makeup game is set for June 27th. See Winn, your Tigers-Mets game has been postponed. Makeup game April 4th, so it should be a couple days from now. And then we got a lot of more games later on today. Yankees on the road still taking on the Diamondbacks. Yankees coming in as a -125 favorite. Dodgers at home against the Giants. -240. Glass now on the mound today. They thought it was going to be Miller, but they switched it out for the Dodgers. Reds on the road against the Phillies. Phillies -175 at home, trying to get to 500 with a 2-3 record right now currently. Guardians going on the road to the Mariners. Chris, Mariners sitting at a -150 favorite, even though the Guardians coming in with the better record. We got the Padres at home, -155. Padres not starting off too good, 3-5 there. Overall, they had that series with the Dodgers overseas in Asia, obviously, so they got it started a little bit ahead of everyone else. Pirates, like you stated, still undefeated, 5-0, going on the road to the Washington Nationals, a -145 favorite there for the Pirates. Something you normally don't see this early in the season, Chris, the Pirates being a favorite going on the road into a game or even undefeated with a winning record, right? We also have the Rockies going on the road. Rockies still trying to figure it out, 1-5 on the road against the Cubs. Cubs are -200. Cody Bellinger, man, take him for an RBI. RBI until we die. That's the play that we've been doing. He's been hitting the last couple of days. The guy's on fire. Making his money, right? He left the Dodgers, had that 1 year, did great, got his contract, so he's there. And then the other game that we got going on today as well, Astros 1-5 going against the Blue Jays. Blue Jays 3-3 on the road. Astros coming in at a -145 favorite. They got Christian Javier on the mound. One of their best pitchers, if not, some people say possibly close to being their ace. I don't know about all that because I don't follow the Astros that hard. We got Chris Bassett on the opposite side for the Blue Jays. It's going to be a tough one, man. Astros trying to get that second win of the season. Before we move on from MLB, Chris, is there anything else in the world of baseball so far this early on in the season that you've seen that you want to tap on real quick?
Well, the Oakland A's, right? It was kind of sad to see what transpired there with respect to the protests and everything going on. You know, the 2,500 to 3,000 people in that second game against the Cleveland Guardians. It's just a storied franchise, right? That has World Series titles, that has a robust history, and to see how it's all just dissolved in Oakland because of the prospective move, and pretty much a move it's pretty much a signed, sealed, and delivered, done deal that they're coming to Vegas. You know, with the closing of the Tropicana and the site pretty much getting ready to be cleared. It's just kind of a sad state of affairs when it comes to that franchise, and to see that all kind of happening, and for that franchise to soon be here in Las Vegas, right? I mean, it's not a great way to have a transition, you know, of a team going from one city to another, to have it ending the way it's ending in Oakland. It
sucks, man. It is what it is. But hey, look at it this way: if you're a baseball fan and you're in the Bay Area, you can catch a cheap game, baby. Get some front row tickets. Just saying. Just saying. If your team happens to be on the road, take a little road trip down to Oakland, hop on the BART, and you're right there, baby. The bridge is right there. You can't beat it. I'm telling you, man, I've seen tickets for freaking $10, $11, Chris. I wouldn't be surprised if you end up finding tickets for $5 pretty soon, just for them to get people in the stadium. It sucks that it's gone to that. I've been to Oakland, Alameda Coliseum, whatever they call it now. I'll be honest with you, with all due respect, it's a shithole. I mean, if we're being honest,
it is.
I mean? It is. It's old. It's run down. It's dirty. Like, even the inside VIP areas, the suites where like the restaurants and the lounges are, I feel like I'm on a showboat that's about to freaking sink. You know what I mean? It's old. It's grimy. I don't know how players.
Jose, for 20 years, it's been like the one stadium that shared their stadium with an NFL franchise.
It's crazy.
If the Raiders were still there, they'd be playing still in that stadium. You know,
it'd be even in worse conditions.
Yeah.
Remember, there were Raider players coming out saying that there were floods underneath the tunnels, that there were rats. In the press booth, Chris, where they do the show, where they do the radio play-by-play, they found a freaking bird's nest or something inside the wall. Like, I mean, it's crazy to me that a major league sport can still allow this stadium to be allowed to be. They condemn Sam Boyd. Sam Boyd is in 1,000 times way better condition than freaking Oakland Alameda Coliseum. It's crazy.
It's like real life. It's real life. The movie Major League, right? With the Cleveland Indians. It's like, what are you doing when they get on that airplane that's got like tape on the propellers and stuff? You know, that's kind of like what the stadium is in Oakland when it comes to the A's. And look, in today's day and age, too, in Major League Baseball, right, Jose, where every ballpark is a cathedral almost. It's immaculate, right? It's a lot of these ballparks are throwbacks. You've got pools, you've got state of the art luxury boxes, and you still have the Oakland A's for a couple more years going to be playing in basically a dungeon in Oakland, right? Where, and by the way, it's a part of the country that is affluent as all get. You know what I mean? Like, it's Oakland, it's San Francisco, it's the Bay Area. You're talking about billionaire computer moguls, and there's money all over the place in that town. And for that to be the home of a baseball team in Major League Baseball that plays in that ballpark that is a fucking joke, give me a break, man. I mean, I can go on and on, man, about that. But that was going to be my one of my final takes when it came to Major League Baseball, is that it's just kind of sad to see the state of the A's franchise before it makes its move out here to Las Vegas.
All I'm saying is that if you're going to bring the A's out here, you better start making moves soon. And what I mean by that, right before you get here, the year before you're set to start and come to this state and start playing baseball here, you as an ownership, and I speak to everyone, not just the owner, I mean everyone that's attached to him, the front office, you guys better find a way to start signing free agents the year before you get here. I don't give a shit if you have to play in that crap shoot of a fucking stadium that you call a baseball stadium, and you got to play there for one more year. If you're a player and you want to start creating something, and they give you the money, and they're actually trying to create some structure with this organization, then try to give them a shot. But you as an organization, you better go after these players, and you better be real, and you better be right with what you want to create. Because if you come to Vegas with this bullshit, trust me, the fans are going to show up, but they're not necessarily going to show up for you. It's going to be like the Raider games. With all due respect,
Yeah.
Raider fans are here, but they're not here like they are in Oakland. There's times where you come to these games, Chris. I've been to Kansas City games and Niner games when they've been out here, and even the Jets game. I thought I was in New York when the Jets game was here because there were way more Jets fans.
Yeah.
The Niner game, I thought I was in San Francisco. Kansas City, oh my God, it was insane. So that's what I'm saying. If that's what the A's want, then by all means, don't spend $1. But if you don't want that and you want to create a fan base, an actual organic fan base here that's going to love your team, even though it's not expansion, but you're coming here, you better start spending some money and put some players on that roster that are going to start putting wins together and make people here be proud of this team. But Chris, we got to finish out and stay close to home here one more time. Vegas Golden Knights, because there's no loss behind it. There's only Vegas Golden Knights. Our guy Mark Newell chimes in again. He says, what about the Vegas Knights? Awesome win last night. He says, can't wait to watch playoff hockey. Great physical play. Nothing better to watch at this time of year. I agree with you. I've gotten into hockey a lot more, obviously, since I've been out here, Chris, with the Golden Knights and us being able to cover them and be in the locker room, things of that nature, all that. Having fun, doing what we love to do. But this team right now is sitting 6th in the Western Conference, right? Overall, if we're looking at the standings. They just beat the Vancouver Canucks the other night, which was a great win, right? You have Jonathan Marchessault, which is absolutely playing like a man possessed, right? I believe he's only the 3rd player ever in NHL history that's non-drafted to get 40 goals in a season.
Yeah.
What he is doing right now is absolutely insane. Bro, if you're a betting man, you're pretty much betting him to score almost in every game now because that's what he's brought to this team. Not only that, having assists, having points in the game, doing different things that has nothing to do with scoring. The guy has become a captain this year. He's not a captain, obviously. There's no patch on his jersey. But you understand what I'm saying, Chris. With what he's been doing with this team, not only on the ice, but in the locker room, off the ice, everything else that you hear about him, he's always been a lovable guy. He's always been the guy that people want to rally around because he's the shorter guy. He's the guy that, wasn't wanted. He's one of the original misfits, and he's still there. I love what Jonathan Marchessault has done, but not only that, you're getting guys back little by little. Some of the guys that you traded for are now gelling and understanding how this system works, right, Chris? You got Tomas Hertl, which is now in the red jersey practicing, which should be getting ready to start doing some things here. Obviously, Mark Stone still day-to-day. They don't know when he's going to come back, obviously. But overall, I think this team is playing the way that they have to play at this time of year, Chris. 7-2-1 in their last 10 games on a 3-game winning streak right now, and they're at home and they're playing well. Do you think that this team can finally figure it out and get to that consistency that they need to find? Because there's been some games here, Chris, that, like you said, like UNLV, some unexcusable losses. The Vegas Golden Knights have had a lot of those this year, that games that they should have won that they lost, right? But the biggest question mark to me is Logan Thompson. How much can we continue to get off of him consistently night in and night out? He's had good games, but then you've also had some head-scratcher games where you go, can we blame this on the defense or do we blame it on Logan? So what are you seeing from the Knights right now, and do they look good for you to make this run one more time and try to get back-to-back?
Yeah, they're definitely on the uptick, no question about it. And Bruce Cassidy, after the game last night, talked about this, saying, look, we look like we're rounding into form, and we're getting closer to where we want to be heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tremendous effort last night. Now, look, there is an asterisk a little bit to the game because Demko, the Vancouver Canucks regular goaltender, who, by the way, usually plays really well against the VGK, was out yesterday. So they had to go with Casey DeSmith, who hasn't been terrible but was not good at all last night. He gave up a couple of just awful goals that NHL goaltenders should stop. And so, I don't want to take away too much from the positivity that is what the VGK was able to do yesterday, because offensively they were impressive, no doubt about it, and getting everybody in the mix from Jack Eichel, obviously, to even Brett Howden, and you mentioned, of course, Marchessault getting number 41. So now he's 2 goals away from William Karlsson's 43 goal record, which is a Vegas Golden Knights record. So we'll see if he's able to do that, in the handful of games left in the season. But, very positive for the Vegas Golden Knights. But obviously, question marks at the goaltending position as far as health is concerned, right? When Aiden Hill is still banged up. And you have but Logan Thompson's been playing pretty well as of late, especially the last few games. He's been pretty solid between the pipes and was pretty good last night as well, too. So short stint here at home. Now they go back on the road and they're going to play some pretty good hockey clubs on the road, obviously, with the exception of the Arizona Coyotes, who they should be able to handle on Friday, right? But you're taking on one of the best teams in the West in Edmonton on this road trip, and then they come back to face the Avalanche for a game on a Sunday game, and I believe Minnesota on Friday as well too. So going to be interesting to see how they respond as they go back out on the road for a road trip right before we wrap things up when it comes to the regular season. Bruce Cassidy also talked about, look, when you're the team that has the bullseye on your back, Jose, right? That is motivation enough. But it's tough. It's tough in the NHL to repeat, right, as Stanley Cup champions. And quite frankly, if again, I use this phrase again, if we're being honest, Jose Volante, they are not the best team in the Western Conference this year. They just aren't. The Edmonton Oilers are a better hockey club, in my opinion. The Colorado Avalanche are a better hockey club, in my opinion. When Vancouver is healthy, they are a better hockey club, in my opinion. The Dallas Stars, better team, in my opinion. So they're going to have some obstacles when it comes to the Western Conference playoffs, without a doubt. And it is not signed, sealed, delivered. They're going to finish in third in the Western Conference as far as the standings. They might be a team that's going to be in the wild card mix, right, where they're the one or second wild card. And what does that mean? Well, it means you got to go and play a series in the first round against the likes of Edmonton or Colorado or Dallas, right, in the playoffs. So it's a little bit dicey for Vegas Golden Knights fans. I know, look, the franchise is relatively young. They have their Stanley Cup championship, and that's all fine and dandy. But it could be I got to be honest. It's not. I don't see this ending great. Yeah, for the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup playoffs here in 2024.
So, Chris, let me ask you a question. I wasn't able to make it to the game last night, but obviously you were there. You were in the media scrum and all that. You were in the locker room.
Yeah.
Last game that I went to was against the Seattle Kraken when they played them at home. A victory for the Golden Knights, 2-1 victory towards the end. They were leading 1-0 the whole game. Third period got a little bit scrummy, but they ended up winning. I asked Jack Eichel in the locker room what their mental was like, right, knowing that they're at the stretch end of the season and that basically you got people behind you, trying to catch you. And, he basically said they're good, this and that and the other. But the reason I bring that up is because you were in the locker room last night. You were there with Bruce Cassidy when they were doing the interviews. What was the body language, the feeling overall as they're answering these questions? Because there's times where you can tell they're answering questions, but even after a victory, something's not right. Does everything seem right now for you in the locker room with these guys and with Coach?
It does. It really does. So just addressing that description you had, which is a very good description, by the way, I would say there's a quiet confidence about this team. There really is. Not an expectation necessarily that I'm getting off of them, a vibe where they're like, oh yeah, we clearly are, the team to beat. They're not taking that approach. They're taking an approach that kind of, they feel like they're getting disrespected a little bit and that they are getting slept on as far as their talent. You talked about Hurl, right? Coming back. Hurl's going to be in the lineup on Friday in Arizona. So that's going to be a lot of fun to kind of see how he gels with this team. I know a lot of you VGK fans out there just hate the fact that this guy, San Jose Shark is going to be coming here. But he's going to be, look, if the Golden Knights are going to do anything, right, Jose? Let's put our cards on the table. If the Golden Knights are going to do anything in the playoffs, Hurl's going to have to be a part of it. He's going to have to be a guy that, from an offensive standpoint, that is going to have to, be a factor for this team if they're going to make a run at a second straight Stanley Cup. So both Bruce Cassidy and Noah, and one of the new guys, Noah Hannafin, in the locker room who we interviewed after the game, there absolutely was a quiet confidence that, look, we kind of feel like we're rounding out into form. And
we keep losing Chris. That's crazy. We're basically just talking about the Vegas Golden Knights. He was at the game last night covering the game. He's a credential member of the media like myself. He was in the locker room with the guys. He was also at the podium with Bruce Cassidy. So I basically wanted to get his thoughts on how he felt the morale and everything else was in the locker room. Like he said, they have this piece of swagger, this feel of confidence to them right now that they're on the right path. Not necessarily that cockiness of we're the best and no one else matters and we're going to win it all, but they have that confidence in them and they're showing it that we're good here. We got this. We know where we're at. We know what we have to do, and we know what we have to do to continue to make this happen. But look, guys, we've had a great show today. Let's see. We got one more comment. No one expected anything last year. Just have to make it in. Anything can happen. And I agree with Mark.
I agree with Mark on this comment 100%, and here's why, okay? I'll post a clip later for those of you that haven't seen it. Just check me out on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. The link's right there, Jose_Volonte. I asked Bruce Cassidy last year during the season before they made it to the championship. I forgot what the question was, but it was something like, how do you feel with, the goalies and your situation and going back and forth? It's been working, and is it sustainable? It ended up being sustainable as long as they did it the right way, right? Which they did. So I truly believe that if they figure this out health-wise, because we know what you have on paper, we know what you're going to have on the ice. We know who's going to be out there now. Chris just said Tomas Hertl will be in the lineup on Friday. He's coming back. Mark Stone's still questionable, but you have all the other guys there. What are the lines going to look like? What is Bruce Cassidy going to do with the lineups, right? Who is he going to pair up together? Is he going to mix it up? Is he going to try different things? Where does Tomas Hertl fit in with all of this, right? Big questions. But I truly believe that they can figure it out. Why? Because they've done it before. Now, it's a different situation here because you're trying to figure out your team as a whole, as where last year you were trying to just figure out your goalie situation because things kept happening. Guys kept getting hurt. Other guys kept having to step up. And luckily, you had guys like Brussois that stepped up and did great. You had guys like veterans that have won chips before, like Jonathan Quick, when you needed him. So my honest opinion, I think the Golden Knights will be okay. I'm not going to say they're going to win a chip, but I think they're moving forward on the right path right now. They made the right moves at the trade deadline to bring in the guys that fit their culture and their system and what they're trying to do. They're coachable guys. They're not guys that are going to come in here and cause problems and ruffle feathers and make issues in the locker room and cause issues on the ice where it is that you do not want to see it happen. So I truly believe the Golden Knights are playing well right now. They figured it out. They're going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to be a scary team that I truly believe no one is going to want to watch or see, because you're playing the defending champs. Defending champs in the playoffs can always be scary. It's a whole new ballgame. Mark, really appreciate you for chiming in today, my man, and giving us a few moments of your time and just watching the show with us. But look, I want to give a big shout out to my guy, Chris Winn. Make sure you follow him on all things social media at Christian Winn. Not sure what happened. I think he lost connection. Probably got a phone call and he had to go. A lot of other things going on for him out there. But look, I am your host, Jose V. You have been tuned in to another episode of Straight Bet Sports, live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, on all our social media handles at Straight Bet Sports. You can find us there. If you missed any of this show and you want to hop back on, or just let your friends know because you liked it and you want them to know what we talked about and you want them to give their thoughts and opinions and follow the show, I'm asking you, please, hop on our YouTube page. That's what we're trying to grow, at Straight Bet Sports. You see it underneath here on the ticker. That's the biggest platform we're trying to go right now. We're trying to grow our YouTube page and see as much as we can and do as much as we can on that channel there. But if not, if you're a Twitter guy, follow us on Twitter. If you're a Facebook guy, follow us on Facebook. But look, man, if you missed this and you're not a video guy and you want to watch the audio, we're also on Apple, Anchor, Spotify, all of those things out there that you can listen to platform-wise. The audio will be put out there. Now, once again, I'm your host, Jose V, for Straight Bet Sports. Want to give a big shout-out to my guy, my sponsor, our guy, Eric Navarro from Line 'em Up by Eric. Make sure you hit him up. You saw the little banner there in the beginning. If you need a haircut, hit him up. He's on Booksy. You can find him there. Last thing I got to say, Monday, National Championship. Who will be in the National Championship? Will it be UConn? Will it be NC State? Will it be Purdue? Who will it be? There's a lot of teams out there. There's a lot of question marks, but yet we don't know who it's going to be. But Monday night, I know where I'll be. I'll be live on the radio here in Las Vegas on KDON 101.5 FM. SportsX Radio, filling in for my guy Ken Thompson, as he will be at the National Championship. Mark chimes in and says, UConn wins it all. I'm kind of with you, man. I think UConn is on that trail right now, that they're just going to have a good 2 years back-to-back and just have something that's going to be phenomenal to watch. And it's going to be history in the making, man. It's already history in the making as it is. So it's going to be a great Final Four no matter what. But remember, catch me live on the radio here, 101.5 FM, locally in Las Vegas, KDON, and streaming worldwide if you're not in Vegas on that Odyssey app, SportsX Radio, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. live on Monday night. I'll be there here on the West Coast time. But again, go ahead and do us a favor. Drop that comment, drop that like, press that share. We'll go from there. Till next time, you have been tuned into another episode of Straight Bet Sports with me, your boy, Jose V. Till then, I'm out.
Peace.